The other thing that I see that can be really cool with Triumph, their style is a little bit quirky in how they do things. They're like quite angular and a little bit odd looking, but that they can bring in a whole kind of host of style and approach to the look of something that's completely fresh. Like they're not influenced in any way in the design by existing kind of design tropes. You know, they're like, for the most part, dirt bikes are starting to look more and more similar. They're all like really bright colors. They're all angles and plastic, and I can see that Triumph, a little bit like BMW did, can bring in a completely new style and aesthetic to the industry that can kind of make it stand out and make it appeal a little bit more to a wider audience. Because at the moment, I can see that always being slightly off-putting to people coming in, is that they just don't look that cool in terms of like, they don't look like classic bikes. They all look like dirt bikes, which is good for dirt bike audience, but not good for an outside audience. And just to have something different and some different color palettes, and to not be so tied to like primary colors. It's such a simple thing, but like there's like, they could bring not some taste, because I think dirt bikes look pretty good, but do you know, like just a different approach to it. It would be cool to see like a camo green and with bits of orange on it, and a cream dirt
and
bike.
I think I think dirt bikes generally all look the same, because they're all wrestling with the same engineering problems, aren't they?
Totally.
Ultimately, you want it to be smaller and lighter and nearer the center of gravity, and but then you've got to have a radiator. Where does the radiator go? And that takes up so much space there. So there's not a lot of available real estate to brand your product. So you've got a couple of fenders front and back. Some paneling on the side. But I agree. The kind of the corporate ethos is very much, our company color is this. All of our products will be this color, and I think it would be great if they had a 450 that was a kind of tan leather color with a nice British racing green or something, and then your 250 or your 350 was different, or that they just had a kind of a camo foresty autumnal color palette with some kind of fluorescent that identify different models. That would be really cool. But I think in terms of the design, I think even if you look at, kind of like, futuristic designs of motorcycles, they're not that futuristic anymore, because ultimately you have to, there's a big bit in the middle, which is your engine. You've got, these big circular things front and back, that's your wheels. How much of it do you cover? How much of it do you leave exposed?
Totally. And ergonomically, you have limitations as well, right? Like, I think everyone that rides a dirt bike wants a flatter seat so they can move around easier, and they want handlebars low, and they want the foot pegs where the foot pegs go. So, and you want it thin. So those things are also limiting factors. You can't have like a big, comfy suede seat with stitching in it. It just doesn't work. But like, I think even just the color palette can just be something that stands out. When you take a picture of it in a nice place, it doesn't suddenly look like a kid's drawn a dirt bike in a really pretty field in France. It looks like a Triumph, if that makes sense, which I think is cool. They'll definitely, that can definitely elevate.
And that again, that'll be interesting, because I think there you've got to from a marketing perspective, you've got to blend elements that will instantly draw the most likely consumer to the product, but yet you want to also sort of talk kind of the other way and say, look, this is us, this is how we want to do it, but it can't be so kind of aggressive and different that the consumer or the possible consumer is like, what the hell's that? Like, if they need to try and understand it, you've lost them. They need to get it straight away. Dirt bike, does this, does that, this capacity. So it'll be interesting, I think, on every level, like, what's the actual product like? How do they come at us from a marketing perspective? Sales, dealer network, racing, like with any new, any manufacturer sort of stepping in, there's so many unknowns, isn't there? I guess, time will tell.
Time will tell. Probably, hopefully not in the too distant future. Yeah. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. You can watch or listen to every episode of the Brake Magazine podcast on our Patreon page, or listen to previous seasons on your favorite podcast app.